Hi, my name is Trina. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a book haul, partially a birthday book haul, of everything I've recently purchased in the last few weeks. I would just like to start out this video by saying that I am not, I'm against overconsumption in general. I buy books that I'm going to read. If I don't like the books I read, I donate them to little libraries, so on and so forth. I also don't have a ton of money, so pretty much all the books in this video are used books or books that I bought very cheap or books I got as gifts for my birthday. So if you have enough money to buy this many books on a regular basis, I would love your life. But this is very unusual for me and I'm very excited about it, so I thought it was worth making a whole video to talk about, because I have some books that I'm so excited to talk about today. Some of these I purchased from Half Price Books, which is a chain of used bookstores or like secondhand bookstores in the US. Some of these books I bought from thriftbooks, which is an online used book buying platform, and most of them I got from a recent library sale in my area. There's only two books that I want to talk about that I purchased new, both from Barnes & Noble. The first one I want to talk about that I finally bought the Raven Boys graphic novel. I knew I wasn't going to find this in a used bookstore. It's a brand new release. Both of these are new releases, that's why I bought them new. And I knew also that I would love it and that I wanted a copy of this. I've said this a couple times in this channel, but for graphic novels, I pretty much only want to read graphic novels physical copies. I try to check them out from my library for the most part and buy them secondhand. But with this one, when I don't have any physical copies of any of the original Raven Boys books, but it's one of my favorite series, the Raven Boys graphic novel, I was like, let me buy this, and then I have it on my shelf to represent my love for this whole series. It's a graphic novel version of the book, of the first in the series, the Raven Boys, that follows, it's a young adult series with some magical realism set in Virginia in a very small town, and it's kind of part coming of age novel, part magical realism, magical discovery. Love this series, love its characters, so excited to see them visually depicted. I love the art style so much. Look at Adam. So I was really excited to get to this. The other brand new book I bought the day before it was released. Actually, Barnes & Noble sold it to me. I bought You Weren't Meant to Be Human by Andrew Joseph White. Again, mentioned on this channel. I love Andrew Joseph White's writing. I've read all of his books up until this point. This is his adult debut, so it was also a book I was really excited and happy to support by buying. And I own all of his other books in hardcover because I bought them before they had paperback versions. And I've loved all of them, and so I was like, you know what, I can buy a hardback of this and it'll match the set. This is a horror sci-fi set also in Virginia, West Virginia, I think, in Appalachia. I think the inside cover says it's Alien meets Midsommar. I haven't seen anyone else review it or talk about it yet, but I know I'm gonna love it because I love Andrew Joseph White, and the concept is really giving me Sorrowland vibes by River Solomon, so I'm very intrigued to get to that. But those are the only two brand new books we have in the stack. Everything else is used. Let me put those down there, facing outward. Starting off, I did go book shopping before my birthday with a friend, and we went to some used bookstores in Oakland and Berkeley, and I bought 3 books there that I figured I'll throw along with the haul. But I found The Vanished Birds by Simon Jimenez. I was really excited for this one because I've read Simon Jimenez's other book, The Spear Cuts Through Water, the fantasy book. It was just beautiful. Totally stunning book. I really want to reread that one as well because it was one of those books that I didn't understand in my first read, so I couldn't enjoy it in the way that it deserved to be enjoyed. So I definitely want to reread it now with more understanding of the characters and the world. But I just loved that writing so much. I thought it was so lyrical and interesting that I was like, you know what? I don't even need to know what this is about. I want to read Simon Jimenez. I believe this is a sci-fi. Yeah, this is a sci-fi versus The Spear Cuts Through Water is fantasy. Doesn't matter. Really excited to get to pick up that. I thought it was really lucky that I saw it in Oh, I want to shout out the used bookstore. Which one was it? It was Walden Pond. It was Walden, yes, I found this in Walden Pond. And I also in Walden Pond saw this. Wait by Jeanette Winterson. Also for really cheap and also used. So it has a couple of like pencil marks inside. I don't care. I've mentioned before, I love Jeanette Winterson as an author. I want to own all of her books. I haven't like gone out and bought all of them at once or anything like that. I'm kind of just buying them as I read. It's actually a retelling, so it's very different than some of her other books that I've read so far. It's a retelling of both Heracles and Atlas, but I'm sure it's going to be very queer and interesting. It's very short also, and not a lot of text on the pages. So this might be a fast, interesting read at some point that I'm excited for. And then lastly, I also went to a sci-fi fantasy store in Berkeley that I'm obsessed with called Dark Imaginative Carnival Bookstore, something like that. It has a fun, long title. Every single fantasy or sci-fi book you could imagine is in this shop. It's so cool. So many authors I've never seen or heard of, talked to, or anywhere else. So many people in the bookstore that were giving me recommendations from local SF authors. All their books are for the most part full priced, so I wasn't actually planning on buying anything. I just go there to browse. But they did have this copy of the Book of Koli by M.R. Carey for under $10, and I was like, you know what? I love M.R. Carey's book Infinity Gate that I read early this year. I also loved the sequel, I think An Echo of Worlds, and I've been meaning to pick up another series from M.R. Carey. He has a couple of books going on that I'm intrigued to pick up, but I think this one is the one I'm most excited for because this is another like kind of sci-fi fantasy-y one about a small like village enclosed on all sides by this like evil forest, or like a forest that has kind of a mind of its own that's attacking people. There's a lot of like nature imagery, nature fighting back imagery. Very, very intrigued. And I just have faith in M.R. Carey now after loving Infinity Gate so much that when it's the right time, when I think I'm going to enjoy this, I'm really excited to pick up the Book of Koli. All right, what should I talk about next? I guess I can talk about the rest of this stack since we're already on it. The rest of this stack, these were all books that I bought from thriftbooks online before I even got to the US. Some of these were books I couldn't ship to Europe, so I shipped them to my family in the US to pick up when I got here. I had no idea how many other books I would be getting when I ordered these, or I may not have ordered so many. It was a bit self-indulgent, so now I'm kind of like, this is like probably the most expensive part of this haul. I'm still really happy to own all these books, and the majority of these are classics. And I do love thrift books as well, especially I have like a set number of books that I'm always on the lookout for when like the good or acceptable copies come online, because they're much cheaper than buying them new on thrift books. Even though new books on thrift books are still cheaper than regular, I'm mostly on there for like the kind of scuffed copies. The first one I can mention is I finally bought a physical copy of Braiding Sweetgrass, and I really wanted the hardback version of this book with the deckled edges and the bookmark. I'm sorry, it was self-indulgent, I know, but I love this version of the cover. I finally have a copy of Braiding Sweetgrass. It was a little bit more expensive than the other books in this list, but this is a book that I've been searching for this deckled edge hardcover for 2 years, and I keep putting off reading the book because of that, and I was like, no, I'm gonna invest a little bit more money and read a book that I'm really, really excited to read. So, Braiding Sweetgrass was one of my thrift book finds. Oh, another one that was a little bit more expensive in this haul is I did buy a new copy of Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I wanted it to match my copy of Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo that I got as a Christmas gift a few years ago. So again, something else I felt like I could invest a little bit of money in so that it would match. I try to pretend I don't care about matching, but I do care a little bit. Hellbent is a part of a fantasy dark academia series, the Alex Stern series. Love Ninth House, knew I'd love Hellbent. Happy to have both of them on by my bookshelf. I don't have Ninth House with me, but it's the same size and copy, which I'm happy to have. And then I have a bunch of classics that I got. 2 very old classics to start off. I bought Sappho, Stung with Love, Poems and Fragments, and Ovid's Metamorphosis. Both of these are for my personal queer classics reading list that I'm trying to get through. And I was like, you know what, I should just go back to the beginning, start at the very beginning, and buy 2 of the oldest books on that list. Both of them I bought used for so cheap. I think this one actually I got with my free book reward from thrift books. So I love their free book reward system. And then Sappho as well. Both ancient Greek texts that are going to be a little bit more difficult, I imagine, to get through. Especially Metamorphoses will probably be a longer term project, but I wasn't necessarily sure I was gonna buy it, but it was free, so I was like, might as well. And then I bought my next James Baldwin. I finished Another Country earlier this year, so I wanted to grab my next James Baldwin to continue reading through all of his collected works. The next one I've decided to pick up is Go Tell It on the Mountain. I believe this is his very first book. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's one of his earlier books. I know very little about what this specific book is about, but I know I'm gonna love it because it's James Baldwin. And then I also have another Jeanette Winterson. I kind of forgot I bought this. Also bought used. It's a little bit sticky. That's concerning. But I bought Written on the Body by Jeanette Winterson, another book by an author that I really, really love and I want to own all of her books. And I thought this was a pretty cool cover for it. You can't really see, but there's like a woman's silhouette in the background and it kind of is like hard to see unless you focus on it. Just, anyways, gorgeous, older book. I love when the spines, or not the spines, but the pages get yellow a little bit. I like that aesthetic. That's that first stack done. Mostly classics from thrift books. I feel like it's easier to find classics from thrift books. I recommend it if you're ever looking for classics specifically. What to do next? I think next I really want to share with you my birthday haul. For my birthday, my sister decided to give me for a gift is basically this challenge. If you've ever seen this on BookTok or BookTube or on Reels or anything like that, you get given a certain amount of time to look around a bookstore to see if there are any books you like, and then you're given a set amount of time to go and grab all the books you can carry, and then at the end, then you get all those books as a gift. I felt like that's a bit expensive to do at a place like Barnes & Noble, but we were like, let's do it at half-price books with like a spending limit. We did do the challenge. It was really fun. I'm not gonna I decided not to post it because after doing the challenge, we were kind of like, okay, I had no time to look at anything. And at a place like Half Price, you find the best stuff when you have more time to look. So we did spend like an extra 45 minutes after the 5-minute challenge of me then searching properly for books up to the spending limit, but it was still fun to try. So these are, for the most part, all books I got given as a birthday present, except for one. And that one was one I bought for myself that I found at Half Price. I found the Illumicrate Special Edition of Her Majesty's Royal Coven, which was significantly more expensive than the challenge, and I decided to treat myself to. But I loved this book this summer. I've mentioned it a couple of times. It like ignited this like obsession with witches for me. It scratched this itch I've had ever since watching Agatha All Along that I was like, yes. So I love this book. It has this gorgeous, fun sprayed edge. And like, this is what the inside cover looks like. Isn't that sick? So I treated myself to this to have on my shelf because I know I love this book. One of the only special editions I own presently, and I bought it at Half Price Books. This Half Price Books that I went to had so many Illumicrate editions. It was actually crazy. They're usually pretty expensive, but I did buy also one copy of a signed version of Legendborn for my best friend because Legendborn is one of her favorite books. So that was the first book I bought for myself, but the rest of these I all got from my sister for my birthday. Thank you. The first one is The Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. I've mentioned I've just finished Mistborn Era 1, and I'm really excited to eventually pick up Mistborn Era 2 and see if I like it. So I was like, you know what? I love these little like pocket editions, especially with a shorter fantasy book like Mistborn Era 2 is. So I thought that was a fun find. They had like the whole Mistborn Era 2 series at Half Price, but I decided just to start with book 1 for that. Then they also had this gorgeous edition of Orlando by Virginia Woolf. This is an edition, this is the signature edition? Yeah, signature editions of Orlando with this beautiful art of Vita Sackville West that I saw on exhibit actually in DC before. So I love this art. I love this version of the cover. It's just stunning, especially when Virginia Woolf was inspired to write Orlando because of Vita Sackville West, who was her lover. Yeah, I think that's the perfect cover for this, and I 100% want to try reading Virginia Woolf for the first time. I'm kind of nervous. I don't know if Orlando is the best place to start with Virginia Woolf or if I should start with Mrs. Dalloway instead. Let me know what you think, but now at least I have it for when I do want to read Orlando. The next book is a book I've already read. I bought a physical copy of The Goblin Emperor. I have like a little pocket edition version of it, but this is my favorite fantasy book of all time. I love The Goblin Emperor, and especially after this summer when I've been like really stressed, I've re-listened to the audiobook of this book 3 times in a row this summer. Yeah, I think obsessed would be a kind of an understatement. I live and breathe this book. It's such a comfort to me. I adore the audiobook, and I really, really want to read the physical version and like annotate it thoroughly, as I do with all my favorite books at some point. So I'm really happy to have a physical copy that I can do that with. I really hope one day someone does a special edition version of this book, because I would spend alarming amounts of money on that. But for now, this is the US edition, and I'm happy with that. And then I also saw this copy of Stag Dance by Tori Peters that came out this year. I've mentioned I'm really excited to read this, and it's been almost impossible to nail down on Libby. Anytime it comes through in the library, I'm not in the mood for it anymore. And then I have to re-put it on hold when I am in the mood for it, and it's another 3 months wait. It's been a disaster. And honestly, I kind of love this hardcover. You know, I'm normally a paperback girly, but I kind of love this hardcover, and I'm really excited to pick it up and read it. So I treated myself to that. And then the last book we got at half price was, I picked up The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carey. This was recommended to me by one of my sister's friends, actually. It was one of her favorite fantasy series. I tried to pick it up on ebook after it was recommended to me a couple years ago, but it was just really dense to get into without being able to reference the maps at the beginning of the book. That's my problem sometimes with big fantasy. So I was planning on just loaning it from the library, but you know, if it came up at half price, then I might as well. So that is The Mask of Mirrors. I'm really excited to get into this series, and if I love it, then I'll just have to find books 2 and 3 as well. But that is everything I bought at half price books. They're not like quite as cheap as some used books could be, but they were cheap to me because they were free, because these are all birthday gifts. So this was my birthday present stack, and I'm really, really happy with all those books. And then the last stack back here is my library sale haul. Now, I did not know there was going to be a library sale, okay? And you never know what you're going to find at library sales. Sometimes I've gone and I've bought like nothing, or like 1 or 2 things. I actually primarily went to get CDs. I'm a big fan of like physical media, like DVDs and CDs. So I usually go to library sales because I can stock up on just like a bunch of CDs or DVDs from my childhood that I want physical copies of. I like going to library sales for that. And I also love it because of the cheap books, because most library sales, they sell hardcovers for a little bit more, usually like $3 or $4, but most library sales will go like $1 or $2 for their paperbacks. Hence the stack. Okay, let me take this out. Oh my goodness. That could have gone better. So my rule for myself at a library sale, because you can get carried away, you know, you're like, oh, it's $2, I can just get this book that I've vaguely heard of, even if I don't think I'm gonna read it. I really tried to limit myself solely to books that I am 100% certain I'm going to read, so that I'm not filling up my suitcases, my moving boxes, everything, with books that I don't plan to read or aren't excited to read. So that's why I ended up with 10 and not like 30. The first book I saw at the library sale was The Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb, in like perfect, pristine condition. These aren't my favorite covers of this series. I'm still planning on collecting this whole series in the John Howe covers that I love, but those are a little bit harder to get, and they're UK versions, so I'm not gonna be able to really find them at library sales in the US, but I also want to take care of those. Like when I do get them, they're gonna be like my collector's items that I don't necessarily want to like read and crack open and carry around in a suitcase with me everywhere, especially when it's an 800-page book, so it's gonna be like weeks of me dragging it around reading it everywhere. So I'm really happy to find these editions just to have as like versions to read that I don't have to worry about like scuffing up or anything like that. So yes, Ship of Destiny is the 3rd book in the Live Ship Traders series. I'm currently on The Ship of Magic, the 1st book, so we'll be getting to this sometime in the next 6 to 7 months, hopefully. So this is perfect timing to have found this. Then I found a book I've also been kind of interested in reading for years, The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. This is the first Witcher book, I believe. After season 2 of The Witcher, me and my sister watched that, and I must have watched season 2 of The Witcher, the TV show on Netflix, like 5-6 times. I really, really loved that. I haven't never watched season 3. I got 2 episodes into season 3 and like didn't like it anymore. And I know that season 2 is also not really accurate to the books, but I just got so obsessed with these characters. I get so much content about the video game on like my social media platforms, so I really want to know more about the story. I'm obsessed with Ciri and want to know more about that whole backstory of the world. So I've been meaning to get into reading the actual Witcher books, or at least just trying the first book to see if I like the style of writing. So, you know, library sale haul, happy with that. It's also in perfect condition, by the way, and I love pocket edition fantasies. That's like my guilty pleasure. Then I also found Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I'm sure you've seen this book around online recently. It has all the awards. I also feel like it's super relevant, but I've also just seen it recommended so heavily by so many really popular booktubers. And not just popular booktubers, but also like regular people I know in my real life have recommended this book to me. And I also feel like it's the exact kind of book that I want a physical copy of for both annotation and also just like greater impact. Then I found a Becky Chambers book. I found The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I have had Becky Chambers as an author recommended to me by Xenia over at Xenia and the Books. One of my favorite YouTube channels. I love her recommendations so much, just love her videos in general so much. And she has recommended Becky Chambers to me on several occasions, and I've just kind of been waiting for the good time to pick up one of her books, and lo and behold, a library sale puts one of her books in my lap. I'm really, really excited to pick up Becky Chambers, give her a try. This book is honestly longer than I was expecting it to be. I'm so used to like these sci-fi novellas, but I know it's kind of like a more lighthearted, potentially, series, so I'm hoping it'll still like fly by to read, and I definitely am excited to have picked it up. This is also the most damaged book I found at the library sale, and it only literally has one bend in the front cover, compared to what you can usually find at library sales. Crazy business. So happy to have found that. The next book I found, stunning. Look at this version of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley I found. This is a Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. This is just a regular version of Frankenstein on the inside, but it has these like gorgeous comic art style on the front, back, and inside covers. $2. I'm so happy to have found this. Frankenstein was not on like my super high priority list to read of classics by any means. This has shot it up on the list. Makes it a priority, is getting to read this edition, because it's just beautiful. And honestly, now that I think about it, I think I would like to read this book before I watch the new Frankenstein movie, because people are saying that that's supposed to be very book accurate. So maybe I should read the book before watching that adaptation. That might actually be perfect time. It might be the universe telling me something. The next book I found at the library sale was a graphic novel. I found Genderqueer by Maya Kababe. I have been meaning to read this book for ages. It's been on my want to read for years. I think even before I realized it was a graphic novel, I don't think I knew it was a graphic novel for the longest time. It's a memoir about the author's life, but through this like stunning art, honestly. So I was really lucky to find this at just a library sale. Like, I'm so lucky. So excited to pick that up. Oh, the next two books are part of a series. I found My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante at the library sale. There were several copies of this at the library sale too, so this is one if you want a copy of, maybe go to your local library sale. This is a really well-known book, rated the top best book of the century. I've seen so many great things, but not just from literary readers. I've seen from one of my favorite book talkers, Mackenzie, who loves The Realm of the Elderlings and loved the Locked Tomb books, two of my favorite series, read these books and adored them. So I'm like, okay, perfect. I trust your opinion with my whole heart. So I really want to try reading these at some point. And they also had the fourth book in that series. First book, fourth book, it's $2. You know, if I really dislike the first book and decide not to continue on with the series, I can just donate it to a little library with no harm done. For now, I'm happy to have both of these together for when I get around to those. And then the next book is also another one that I saw like 4 copies of at the library sale. If you want a copy of this book, go to your local library sale. I got The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is a mystery that was translated from Spanish. Not at all my usual genre, I don't think. I think it's more like thriller mystery, but I have heard it's somewhat character focused, and I saw it really highly recommended by one of my favorite booktube channels, Plant-Based Bride. I'm just shouting out everybody today. I'm very highly influenced, can you tell? Plant-Based Bride recommended this book in several of her vlogs and this series, so I was like, I'll trust that. I'm willing to give it a shot and try something new, and I'm always looking to try more translated lit. So I'm willing to at least give the first book in this series a shot. And the last book I found at my local library sale was The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. Again, another large fantasy book that has been on my TBR forever that I want to read. I didn't necessarily need a physical copy of it, but it was one of those ones where it's like, well, if it's in my lap, if it's $2, I'm more than happy to at least have a physical copy to read it for the first time. And if it's not like one of my favorite books ever, I can happily donate it onwards. Same way as like just checking out a library book, only this one I'm like paying $2 so I don't have to return it for a while or at all if I like it. So interested in starting this series as well at some point. Not a super high priority, but I have the book when it becomes more of a priority. Oh, there's a bird outside. Oh, okay. I was about to show you the camera, but it flew away. Cute. Okay, those are all the books I've acquired in the last week and a half. It was my birthday, so it's okay. I feel a little bit guilty doing a video in this style. Honestly, the most expensive book I bought was the special edition, but other than that one, all of this together is probably under $100. Okay, no. If we take out the special edition and the 2 new books from Barnes & Noble, the rest is all under $100, which is amazing for this many books. And I am not in the US that often. I've really, really missed used book shopping in English for all these months that I've been in Europe. So I kind of like went a little nuts, but I'm really, really happy with this. But before I end the video, I do want to take you along to another library sale, if I may. There's another library sale happening tomorrow at another local library that I saw advertised to me. And a friend of mine really wanted to go, and I can't say no to a library sale. So let me take you along to one more library sale to end the video, and then we'll finish up the haul with whatever we get at that library sale. Okay? Come along. Hi, we're back from the library sale, the second library sale. We were kind of late, unfortunately. I didn't get there right when they arrived, so I didn't really find much. It was actually like surprising how many people were there with like that app that scans books and tells people how much they're worth, like trying to buy books to resell them, which I think is kind of messed up at a library sale. Whatever. Definitely taught me to arrive to that specific library sale if I ever go again in the future very, very early. The only thing I found was this copy of this Adele CD. So that's nice to have, but no books, unfortunately. Oh, I also did get this mushroom stuffed animal stuffy from a friend of mine for my birthday, and it's so cute. I've mentioned before, I love mushrooms, so I'm really, really happy with that. But yeah, I'm not like sad or anything. I didn't find anything at the second library sale. Happens sometimes, and honestly, I feel very like sated. Like after all these months of not having like access to American or English used book sales, I was like kind of itching to buy books, and I feel like I achieved that over this week. I'm good now, I'm set. I have all the books that I could need for the foreseeable future. My physical TBR is, as always, a massive problem. I'm really, really happy with this in total. How many books is that in total? 6, 16, 6, 10, 11. That is 27 books total. But 27 books for like really good prices, excepting again the special edition, 27 books for like under $100. I'm happy with that. I'm content. I'm pleased with how it turned out. Please let me know if you've read any of these, which ones you think that I should start with, which ones are a priority. Definitely let me know if you've read any of these and you want to recommend them especially. Definitely also let me know if you're reading You Weren't Meant to Be Human, because probably by the time this video comes out, I will have read it or be reading it. So I'd love to talk about that as well, or any Andrew Joseph White book, but that one especially. Let me know how your reading is going, whatever you want in the comments below. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, anything you want to do as per usual. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video pretty soon.